Hi guys, Amanda here, and I want to talk about um, how when you experience traumatic events, how sometimes people, when you're an adult, kind of how they, you know, how they kind of view the situation. Not everyone, but they have a certain mindset and how that plays out. And I can only speak from my experience, obviously. So, for me, and I'm talking trauma under the age of 18, any kind of trauma. And for me, the first time I was abused was when I was 4, and the last time was when I was 17. And it went on for, it was different people, different things, different dynamics, but abuse nonetheless. And it left a lasting impression on me. It's a scar, it affected me, and it still affects me to this day. And I have found that sometimes when you mention, a past trauma that happened in your childhood, sometimes people have had the attitude, well, why, you're an adult now. Why does that matter? Why does that bother you? Why can't you get over that? And first of all, asking why questions to a person who's been traumatized and abused isn't the best approach. Asking how questions or what questions that have a, a solution. So, for instance, how can I help you through this time? What can I do to make this transition easier, or whatever it is? Those questions offer solutions, where when you ask a why question, it it brings up defenses. So if somebody asks, why were you with that person for 10 years, that that it's defensive, because to answer that kind of question, it's going to re-traumatize the person all over again, and the person probably already feels bad enough, so trying to find solutions in a question, the way you ask it, really makes a difference in how that person can respond to that situation. So like I said, no why questions if you can help it. And, you know, secondly, just because I am an adult doesn't mean that those uh, issues aren't still present for me today, right now. They're still here. I've been in counseling for 6 years, and it's going to take me a while to get to a place where I don't, or hopefully I can get to a place where it doesn't affect me so much. And I'm trying, I really am. I'm trying very hard to stay positive and think of good things, and only worry about myself and stay in the here and now as best that I can. But that doesn't mean that those memories and the lasting effects aren't still there. It's just I'd like to learn how to use those experiences to my benefit, rather than it kind of engulfing me, and I feel horrible and bad, and all that stuff. So I mean, it's a very tricky situation. So I'm just saying, personally, I've had those kinds of questions, and like I said, the simple answer is they're there. It's like if you break your leg and you have to have surgery and whatnot, it leaves a scar. It might fade over time, which it usually does, but it's still a scar, it's still there. Well, imagine that scar, but on the inside of you. It's a scar. It's going to fade over time. It's not going to be as intense over time, but it's not going to happen overnight. And, it's just hard to deal with things sometimes if people are judgmental about what goes on with you. You know what I'm saying? So I've just found that to be I have found that can happen with people. Now, whether they themselves have been abused or not, it's not for me to say. I just think that judging somebody about something like that, I don't see how any positive outcome could come from that. You know, I think it's one of those things where you have to know the person. You have to be able to have an insight into, I guess, how far you can go with talking with them. But for me personally, when people ask me why questions, it's usually with a tone of judgment, and I get defensive, and then I don't want to talk about it, or I don't want to try to find a solution because now I feel like I've been judged. And that's something I'm also wanting to work out in therapy. So it's just one of those things, you can't stop people from, judging you, but turning inward and looking at ourselves, looking at myself, and dealing with that is what's going to help me. And I'm sorry, my nose is stuffy. I keep hitting the computer, it keeps shaking. I'm sorry. um, so yeah, I'm sorry if I'm talking funny. So for me, I try to just, I'm trying very hard to work through it and get to the other side so it doesn't consume me. So I can look elsewhere and see other things, and this, yeah, it happened, and I've dealt with it, and now I'm moving forward. But I can't move forward. Sorry, moving forward is a journey. It's a lifelong journey. So I might not be at the halfway mark to feeling better. I'm where I am where I am at this point, and it's going to take me a while to get to a place where I have a different outlook and all that stuff. I'm starting to, but I'm just saying, if you know somebody who struggles with internal scars, please try to be empathetic to their situation rather than judgmental, because if you show that, you know, if you show that person it's okay for them to talk about something that they went through, then they might want to open up to you. You never know, but it leaves, leave the conversation open to conversation and solutions. It'll go a whole lot better, for one, and that person can decide to talk about it or not talk about it. It would be no different than, talking about a situation you had where you got a scar. Maybe it was a physical scar, but a scar nonetheless, and how a traumatic event can, how that can affect you. So, yeah, that's all I want to say. I don't know if other people have had situations like that where people sort of judge you as an adult, wondering why something that happened in your past is affecting you now. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that have dealt with that or are dealing with that. And I just wanted to talk about it. I don't know if it ever gets talked about, but I thought it was worth mentioning. And like I said, see, another thing that's hard about it is when you develop complex post-traumatic stress disorder. That makes it even harder because you already have the stress of the incident or incidents, whatever. You have the memories of that, and it's harder to have that and then also have, a reaction in that kind of way. Depression, nightmares, flashbacks, all that stuff. And whether or not you believe in it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. So just try to be understanding if you can, or at least empathetic to that person's situation. Because judging people, it doesn't get anyone anywhere. It just doesn't. So I hope that this was helpful to some of you. Like I said, I've never really seen this topic being discussed. So that's why I made it. That's why I did it. So, yeah. So, I hope you all are doing well. I love you all very much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.